It was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon, just a man doing his job, cleaning up a yard. But in a world where minding your own business isn't always enough, one woman decided she had a problem with it, and instead of simply asking questions or moving along, she made a call that would change everything. Meet James, a hard-working guy just trying to get through his day. He's been hired to clean up a yard in a quiet suburban neighborhood, raking leaves, picking up trash, nothing out of the ordinary. But as he goes about his work, he notices something, a woman across the street watching him. And not in a casual way. No, this is different. She looks suspicious, uneasy. Then, out of nowhere, she pulls out her phone. Within moments, sirens are blaring in the distance. Unaware of what's coming, James keeps working, headphones in, lost in the rhythm of the job. But when he finally looks up, he sees red and blue lights flashing. Officers step out, scanning the scene. Confused, James sets his rake down. What's going on? That's when he hears it, the woman's voice, loud and panicked, telling the officers she felt threatened. But what happens next? Well, let's just say she didn't expect things to take the turn they did. Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. James wipes the sweat from his forehead, still gripping the rake as the officers approach. His heart starts to race, not because he's done anything wrong, but because he knows how these situations can go. He takes a deep breath, reminding himself to stay calm. One of the officers steps forward, looking him up and down. "Sir, can you tell us what you're doing here?" The question is simple, but the way it's asked makes it clear. James is already being treated like a suspect. James gestures toward the yard, still scattered with leaves and debris. "I'm working. The homeowner's hired me to clean up." His voice is steady, but inside, frustration is bubbling. He's been doing this job for years, never had an issue. So why now? Before the officers can respond, the woman who made the call steps closer, arms crossed. "I didn't know what he was doing," she says, shaking her head. "It just looked suspicious." The way she says suspicious lingers in the air, heavy with something unspoken. James glances toward the house, hoping the owners might step outside and clear things up. But the front door stays shut. The officers exchange looks, and one reaches for his radio. Something about this doesn't feel right. James can sense it. This is more than just a misunderstanding. But what happens next? That's where things take an unexpected turn. James shifts his weight, glancing between the officers and the woman. He knows this isn't about yard work. It never was. He's seen this play out before. Someone makes an assumption, a call is made, and suddenly, an innocent man is standing under flashing lights, being treated like a criminal. But today, something feels different. The officer with the radio hesitates before speaking into it. Maybe he's realizing there's no actual crime here. Maybe he's waiting for someone, anyone, to confirm James' story. But the woman isn't backing down. "He didn't belong here," she insists, shaking her head as if trying to convince herself. "I've lived in this neighborhood for years, and I've never seen him before." James lets out a slow breath, choosing his words carefully. "Ma'am, I don't have to be familiar to you to be here. I was hired to do a job." His voice is even, but inside, frustration is building. He looks at the officers again. "You can call the homeowners. They'll tell you." The officers glance at each other, but before they can answer, something unexpected happens. A car turns into the driveway. The garage door starts to lift. James feels a flicker of hope. Finally, someone who can clear this up. But as the driver steps out, the woman's expression shifts. Her confidence wavers. Something tells James she knows what's coming, and it's not in her favor. The car door swings open, and out steps a middle-aged man, dressed casually but with an air of authority. His face shifts from confusion to concern as he takes in the scene, the patrol cars, the officers, and James standing there, rake still in hand. "What's going on here?" the man asks, his voice calm but firm. He walks toward them, eyes flicking from James to the woman, then to the officers. The woman stiffens. "I saw him in your yard. I didn't know who he was. I thought. She stops mid-sentence, her confidence cracking. The man narrows his eyes. You thought what? That I hired someone to do work in my yard, and somehow that was a problem for you. His voice sharpens, and James can see the color drain from the woman's face. One of the officers clears his throat. Sir, do you know this man? The homeowner turns to James, shaking his head slightly, not at him, but at the situation itself. Of course I do. I hired him to clean up my yard. Is there a reason he's being questioned? Silence falls over the group. The woman shifts uncomfortably, her arms tightening around herself. The officers hesitate, exchanging glances. The air is thick with tension. James knows something is about to happen. The question is, what would it be? One of the officers shifts uncomfortably, glancing between James and the homeowner. We received a call about suspicious activity, he says, his tone noticeably less firm than before. We were just following up. The homeowner lets out a short, disbelieving laugh. Suspicious activity? You mean a man doing exactly what I paid him to do? His voice is sharp now, his frustration evident. He turns to James, shaking his head. I am so sorry this happened. James gives a small nod, appreciating the support, but before he can respond, the woman suddenly speaks up again. How was I supposed to know? She blurts out. People have been talking about break-ins lately. I was just trying to be cautious. Her voice has a slight tremble now, but there's something else in her expression, something that looks like fear. Then, just as the situation seems to be de-escalating, another car pulls up. This time, it's a sleek black sedan. The doors swing open, and out steps a woman in a sharp blazer, her eyes scanning the scene with an expression that's both serious and unreadable. The officers straighten up immediately. Ma'am, we have the situation under control, one of them starts to say, but she cuts him off with a raised hand. I'm sure you thought you did, she replies coolly. Then, turning to the woman who made the call, she adds, but I have a feeling you just made a very big mistake. The woman in the blazer steps forward, pulling out a badge. The air shifts instantly. James isn't sure who she is, but the officers seem to recognize her authority. The woman who made the call stiffens, her hands gripping the strap of her purse. I'm with the neighborhood association, the woman in the blazer states. Her eyes lock onto the caller. And I've been getting complaints about incidents like this, calls being made on people who are simply minding their business. She tilts her head slightly. Tell me, did you call the police on any of the other workers who've been in this neighborhood recently? Or just him? The woman stammers, her face turning red. I was just looking out for the neighborhood, she insists, but the weight of her words hangs in the air, hollow now. The homeowner shakes his head. Looking out for who exactly? Because you sure weren't looking out for me when you called the cops on the man I hired. The officer who first questioned James exhales, clearly realizing the situation for what it is. He turns to James. Sorry for the trouble, sir. You're free to go. But before James can even respond, the woman in the blazer delivers the final blow. Actually, she's the one who needs to go, she says, handing the caller a notice. The woman's eyes widen in horror. Violation of community policies, the woman in the blazer explains. False emergency reports. Harassment of residents and guests. You've had warnings before. This is your final one. James watches as the woman stares at the paper, her confidence crumbling. The very call she thought would get rid of him had only exposed her. She opens her mouth as if to argue, then closes it again, realizing there's nothing left to say. As James picks up his rake and turns back to his work, the officers step away, and the homeowner gives him an apologetic nod. The woman in the blazer lingers for a moment before speaking again, loud enough for everyone to hear. Next time, maybe call your neighbor before you call the police. With that, she walks back to her car. The officers follow, leaving the woman standing alone in the driveway, clutching a piece of paper that changed everything. James exhales slowly, feeling the tension finally lift as the officers drive away. The yard is still a mess. leaves scattered, tools waiting, but everything feels different now. The quiet that follows isn't awkward. It's heavy with the weight of what just happened. The homeowner steps closer, shaking his head. "Man, I don't even know what to say. I'm embarrassed this even happened." James gives a small shrug, but there's something tired in his expression. It happens more than you think. He doesn't say it to make a point, just stating a fact. The woman who made the call still stands there, gripping the notice in her hands. She looks like she wants to disappear. Maybe she's realizing the damage isn't just to James, it's to herself. The neighbors who peeked out from behind their windows, the officers, the woman in the blazer, they all saw it. There's no taking it back now. James turns back to his work, deciding he won't waste another second on the situation. He's got a job to finish. The homeowner lingers for a moment before walking toward his house, leaving the woman standing alone. As James rakes the last of the leaves into a pile, he lets out a breath. Today could have ended differently. It almost did. But this time, the truth won. And as he loads his tools into his truck, he hopes that next time, someone will think twice before picking up the phone.